Good morning, everyone. This is SMD Mazharul Haq, Assistant Professor, Triple Department, ISL Engineering College. The subject is utilization of electrical energy, and the topic today is high frequency eddy current heating. In the previous class, we have studied about the coreless and core type furnaces and different types of furnaces. Also, we have studied their advantages and disadvantages. And today, we will study about the high frequency eddy current heating. So, we are studying about the types of heating now, and one of the type of heating is eddy current heating, high frequency eddy current heating. So, high frequency eddy current heating means the articles to be heated are placed within a high frequency current carrying coil. The articles which are to be heated are placed within a high frequency current carrying coil, and the alternating magnetic field is set up. So, the eddy currents are induced in the article and heating is therefore affected. This is the high frequency eddy current heating. So, whenever the magnetic field is set up and eddy currents are induced in the article, it develops some heating. According to this high frequency eddy current heating, whenever the magnetic field is set up and eddy currents are induced in the article, and heating is therefore affected. The high frequency current carrying coil is known as heater coil or work coil. The material which is to be heated is known as the charge or load, and the process employed is referred to as high frequency eddy current heating. So, we know that the high frequency current carrying coil is known as heater coil or work coil. The material which is to be heated is known as charge or load, and the process employed is referred to as high frequency eddy current heating. So, whenever we are having a heater coil or work coil and the material which is to be heated is known as the charge or load, the process employed for heating is known as high frequency eddy current heating. And the eddy current loss is primarily responsible for production of heat. But hysteresis loss also contributes to it to a little extent. As we have studied about eddy current loss and hysteresis loss previously in the transformer, the same thing here, the eddy current losses is primarily responsible for the production of heat. Hysteresis also contributes, but very little extent. The eddy current loss is proportional to the square of product of supply frequency and flux. So, what is the eddy current loss proportional to? It is proportional to the square of the product of supply frequency and flux density. Therefore, by controlling the frequency, the flux density, the amount of heat can be controlled. So, here the main point is by controlling the frequency and the flux density, the amount of heat can be controlled. Okay. So, eddy current losses can be controlled, or the heat can be controlled with the help of changing the frequency as well as flux density. However, it is observed that higher the frequency employed in induction heating, the greater will be the tendency of induced heating currents to remain at the surface of material that is being heated. This property is called as skin effect. So, whenever we are employing high frequency in induction heating, the greater will be the tendency of induced heating currents to remain at the surface of the material that is being heated, and that property is called as skin effect. This has a strong effect upon the uses and limitations of high frequency eddy current heating. So, we say that here in this slide that skin effect is having a very huge limitation of high frequency eddy current heating. So, if you see this coil with a high frequency AC supply and you are having a charge or load that is in the shape of a rectangle or a bar, and work coil is being wound across it, and we are giving a high frequency AC supply. So, in that induced thing will be creating some heat in the load or charge. So, that is called as the high frequency eddy current heating. So, it is also one type of this induced heating or induction heating we can say. So, induced eddy current is of greatest magnitude at the surface of material to be heated, and its value decreases with the distance normal to the surface as we go inside the material. So, this eddy current is a greatest magnitude at the surface of the material, and its value decreases with the distance normal to the surface as we go inside the material. As we go inside the material, what happens is the eddy current or the induced current magnitude will be lessened. So therefore, since the depth of penetration of eddy currents into the charge is inversely proportional to under root of supply frequency. So we can say here delta is equals to 1 by 2 pi integral of sigma into 10 power 7 by microfarad into meters. So depth of penetration is given by that formula. So here it is delta and F is the frequency there. Therefore, eddy current heating can be restricted to any desired depth of material to be heated by judicious selection of frequency of heating current. So, eddy current heating can be restricted to any desired depth of material to be heated by judicious selection of frequency of heating current. So, the supply frequency is usually employed between 10 to 400 kilohertz. So, this is the type of frequency we are employing for judicious or desirable type of heating. We require this frequency. To be effective, the coil must be so shaped to provide as tight a magnetic coupling as possible between itself and the work or load. As we have seen that diagram, in that we have seen the work as well as we have seen the charge as well as we have seen the winding. So to be effective, the coil must be so shaped that to provide as tight magnetic coupling as possible between itself and the work. The turns of the coil being parallel to the paths in which it is desired that eddy current shall flow, with high frequencies it is possible to achieve power inputs to charge of 1.6 kilowatts or more per square centimeter of surface. So, within the higher frequencies only it is possible to achieve power inputs to charge a body of 1.6 kilowatts power. Now we will come to the advantages of eddy current heating. What are the advantages of eddy current heating? It is quick, clean and convenient method, and it is having little wastage of heat as heat is produced in the body to be heated up directly, and therefore it can easily take place in a vacuum or other special atmosphere, whereas other conventional type of heating are not possible in such places. So we can take place in the place of vacuum also we can take this eddy current heating. The control of temperature is very easy and the heat can be made to penetrate into metal surface to any desired depth. As in the previous slide only we have discussed that the heat can be made to penetrate in the metal to a desired depth, and unskilled labor can also operate the equipment. This is advantage. So a skilled labor need not necessary and the cost will not rise because an unskilled labor also can operate the equipment. And coming to the other point or advantage, the area of surface over which heat is produced can be accurately controlled. The amount of heat produced can be accurately controlled by suitable timing devices. And coming to the other point, the work coils are not required to fit closely around the object being treated, and it enables the same coil to heat many different objects of different shapes and sizes, and in fact often obviates the necessity of requiring odd shaped coils to heat irregular shaped objects. So the point here is the work coils are not required to fit closely around the object treated. It enables the same coil to heat many different objects of different shapes and sizes, in fact often obviates the necessity of requiring odd shaped coils to heat irregular shaped objects. So we can use the same coils to heat the irregular objects also. This means that. And from the economic point of view, the generation of heat is costly. Efficiency of equipment is quite low. That is less than 50%, and initial cost of equipment is also high. So these are the point that is to be considered according to the economic point of view. The generation of heat is costly here and efficiency of equipment is quite low, that is 50%, and initial cost of equipment also high. Please note this point. The importance applications of high frequency eddy current heating are as follows. So you have been heard about the surface hardening. One of the application is surface hardening. It is very important application of high frequency eddy current heating. The bar whose surface is to be hardened by heat treatment is surrounded by the work coil. An alternating current of high frequency is made to pass through the work coil. The desired depth of penetration is obtained by judicious selection of frequency of heating current in the work coil. So, this surface hardening is also one of the application where high frequency eddy current heating is required. The bar, which is as shown in the previous figure, like that only, the bar whose surface is to be hardened by the heat treatment is surrounded by the work coil, and it is heated by allowing the more amount of heat to pass through the depth of that particular bar. Annealing, second application is annealing. In conventional method of annealing, the process takes long time, which results in scaling of metal, a great shortcoming. Which is a shortcoming? In conventional method of annealing process, it takes a long time, which is a shortcoming. Means it is having some disadvantage because it takes a long time. But in eddy current heating method, the time taken in the process is less, thus there is no scale information. By this method, a temperature of order 750 degrees centigrade can be obtained in 1 minute up to depth of 25 mm. This is the annealing. In the annealing process, we will be having this high frequency eddy current heating to be more favorable than the conventional methods. Next, coming to the point of soldering. What is soldering? You might have heard the soldering word, like we will be using it to give the connections or join the particular elements to form a circuit by using some piece of this wire. Okay. For soldering, it is necessary that required amount of heat is produced at the soldering point and the remaining portion of solder may remain cold. So, we see that while soldering, the soldering point gets heated up and the remaining portion of the solder point may remain cold. So, eddy current heating can be economically employed for soldering, precisely for high temperature soldering, that is silver, copper and other alloys, as where they are used as solders. By induction heating, heat develops very rapidly, melting the solder which runs into the joint, sealing it properly. So, this whatever we are studying about this eddy current heating, it comes under the induction heating. So, other applications are welding and drying of paints, melting of precious metals, sterilization of surgical instruments and forging of bolt heads and rivet heads. So, these are the applications of this particular eddy current heating, high frequency eddy current heating. It will be used in welding, it will be used in drying of paints and melting of precious metals, etc. Okay. Now, coming to the other method of heating, that is dielectric heating. Just now we have seen about the method that is induction heating. In that we have seen high frequency eddy current heating, and dielectric heating we will be discussing now. What is a dielectric heating? When non-metallic parts such as wood, plastics, bones are subject to an alternating electrostatic field, dielectric loss occurs. When does electric loss occurs? When non-metallic parts such as wood, plastic, bones are subjected to alternating electrostatic field, then the dielectric loss occurs. In dielectric heating, use of these losses is made. So, whatever the losses are occurred while this particular, when non-metallic parts of wood, plastic are subject to alternating electrostatic field, some dielectric loss is there, and that dielectric loss is made used in dielectric heating. Whatever the dielectric loss occurs, it is used in dielectric heating. The material to be heated is placed as a slab between metallic plates. So, what is dielectric heating? The material to be heated is placed as a slab between metallic plates or electrodes connected to high frequency supply. As we have seen already how this particular slab between the metallic plates is kept for dielectric heating, and for producing sufficient heat, frequency between 10 and 30 megahertz is used. So, dielectric heating, sufficient heat is being produced for the frequency between 10 and 30 megahertz. Okay, that is what dielectric heating. So, even though the voltage up to 20 kV have been used, but from personal safety point of view, voltages between 600 volts and 3 kV are in common use for this dielectric heating, as we do not go for that megahertz and also the necessary high frequency supply is obtained from a valve oscillator. So this high frequency supply should be required. How do we require this high frequency supply? From a valve oscillator which changes the frequency from low to high, as in the case of high frequency eddy current heating, and therefore the overall efficiency is about the 50% here. Now what we say is we will be having this dielectric heating diagram, where we have the capacitor, the supply voltage, as well as this particular thing. And here we see that the current drawn by the capacitor when an AC supply voltage is applied across its two plates does not lead the supply voltage by exactly 90 degrees, and there is always in phase component of the current. Due to this, an active component of current heat is always produced in the dielectric material placed in between the two plates of the capacitor. So we are having two plates of capacitor, and the current drawn by the capacitor is does not lead the supply voltage by exactly 90 degrees, and there is always a in phase component of current. So this in phase component of current, due to this in phase component of current, heat is produced in the dielectric material placed between the two plates of a capacitor. So that is the dielectric heating concept, where the capacitors are placed, two capacitors placed, and in between two capacitors one heating material is to be placed. That is the dielectric material also we can say. So here what is the meaning is, it AC supply voltage applied across two plates of capacitor, and it does not lead the supply voltage by exactly 90 degrees. Leading and lagging will be there in a capacitor and inductor respectively, but whereas in inductor always should lead by 90 degrees. So here it does not lead by 90 degrees exactly, and there will be some component of current which is in phase with the active component of current here, and therefore the heat is produced here. If the heat, if there was leading by exactly 90 degrees, then there was no heat to be produced in the particular capacitor. So the electric energy dissipated in the form of heat energy in the dielectric material is known as dielectric loss. So whatever we taught now, what is dielectric loss is nothing but the heat produced, called dielectric loss. Dielectric loss is directly proportional to the frequency of AC supply given to the two plates of capacitor. The physical conception of dielectric loss is just a friction, and in the dielectric material when electrostatic field is applied to it. So insulators, being poor conductors, can be heated up quickly from outside, and in dielectric heating the heat is produced within. And the insulators, being poor conductors, cannot be heated up quickly from outside. In dielectric heating the heat is produced within the material itself. Because heat generation is uniform, the dielectric material is heated uniformly, and this is the important property of dielectric heating. So students, we have seen about the dielectric heating. What is a dielectric heating, and how the capacitor is given the supply, and how the current going to the capacitor is not exactly with leading by 90 degrees, then the heat is produced by the dielectric heating concept. Okay. So we have seen the induction heating and high frequency materials. The amount of heat produced by dielectric heating can be calculated as follows. So in the previous slide we have taught about the insulators and the uniform dielectric heating. So in insulators or non-conducting materials, the amount of heat that is produced by dielectric heating can be calculated in the following way, where we will see that the material to be heated may be considered as the imperfect dielectric of a condenser, and may be therefore represented as a capacitance placed in parallel with resistance. So we will show that in figure, and the phasor diagram of circuit is shown in the figure here, and V is the supply voltage in volts, F is the supply frequency in hertz, and C is the capacitance of the condenser in farads, and cos phi is the power factor of the load or charge. So if you see here, according to that expression, the charge between parallel plate metals, you can see that the supply is given and the charge is kept in between, which is shown here like this, the black material, and the metal plate terminals are kept like that. So charge between parallel metal plates will be represented in this figure. And however, this should be represented as an equivalent circuit or electrical circuit. So we will keep here a voltage, that is alternating voltage and current I flowing, and the capacitor and resistor. So this is represented as this figure. So it is represented by capacitance and resistance. So the phasor diagram is always like capacitance and resistance, they are 90 degrees in phase with each other. So the phasor diagram is also drawn for the dielectric heating. So these three diagrams represents the parallel metal plates and with the charge, and also the second represents the equivalent circuit, and third represents the phasor diagram. Now we will calculate the current to the capacitor. As we have drawn the equivalent circuit, from the equivalent circuit, IC is equals to V by XC. XC is nothing but the capacitor reactance. So capacitor current is equals to voltage by XC from this circuit. IC is equals to V by XC. And V by 1 by 2 pi FC. Why you are calling 1 by 2 pi FC means XC is converted to 1 by 2 pi FC form because the frequency also should be included. So the formula for current through capacitor is IC is equals to 2 pi FC V amperes, where C is in farads and V is in volts. The current drawn from supply is approximately 2 pi FC V amperes. So in the similar way we can calculate the power produced, that is P is equals to VI cos phi, that is equals to V into 2 pi FC V into cos phi, where cos phi is the power factor. So 2 pi of CV square cos phi watts given by equation 5.13 gives the power produced here. So the value of power factor for a particular non-conducting material is constant, and the capacity is determined from the dimension of plates. So the charge which serves as the dielectric medium and the dielectric constant, therefore the dielectric heating depends upon the values of frequency and voltage. Okay? By varying one of these two quantities, the rate of dielectric heating can be varied. The insulation problem limits the voltage to be used. Hence, to achieve more heat, high frequency is used. However, there is a limit also on high frequency, so imposed by the cost involved in getting a circuit for obtaining very high frequencies and other difficulties. So here the cost is also a point where the economic point of view, to gain the high frequencies we require a large amount on high imposed by cost involved in getting a circuit for obtaining very high frequencies and other difficulties also there. So the capacity of conductor can be calculated from the following relation. C is equals to ER epsilon naught A by T, where ER is the relative permittivity of the dielectric, epsilon is the absolute permittivity of the vacuum, and value is 8.8549 per minus 12 farad per meter, and T is the thickness of dielectric in meters, and A is surface of area of plates in meters square. In today's class, students, we have seen about the dielectric heating and dielectric heating efficiency and the cost involved in it, and also previous to dielectric heating we have seen about the eddy current heating, as well as that is called as a high frequency eddy current heating, and how much cost is involved in that, and also its efficiency is also there. So we have seen the dielectric heating as well as the high frequency eddy current heating here in this class, and we have seen how the dielectric heating is done by assuming the two plates, metal plates, and the dielectric material that is placed inside between the metal plates, and that is also called as charge here. And we have validated the equations of power and voltage and current for this particular thing. And whatever we have learned here is the dielectric loss is nothing but the main reason for producing heat in the electric heating process, and therefore we will also have the advantages of the dielectric heating as well as the applications of dielectric heating. So what are the advantages of dielectric heating we will see, as well as the applications of dielectric heating are more important. So we will see it in the next class about the applications of dielectric heating. So thank you, students. With this I will end my lecture here. Thank you.